Let's start off with Richmond, 4.7% gain. Bank of America Merrill Lynch upgrading it to a buy and enough to send the top 40, they're saying, to a new record high. So what are your views on the rally we saw today?
Yeah, I mean, this stock has performed fantastically over the last 4 years or so. I think a bigger push on the stock was actually the Chinese manufacturing data that came out this morning. I read a fascinating article yesterday about a British gentleman who went into China, into one of the second-tier cities, population of about 11 million people, and actually lived in a middle-class home there, just to try and understand the culture there. And it's fascinating. Chinese people, when they come into Europe, one of the main tourist attractions is shopping. If you go to the bush, you want to go on a game drive. When they go to Europe, they want to shop. And they actually bring their receipts back to show their friends and families, what they've bought and how much they've spent. So just to understand that culture is fascinating, and that's exactly why everyone is so excited about these luxury goods companies, because still going forward there's so much potential as the Chinese economy shifts from infrastructure to consumption.
And really that being backed up by a conversation I had earlier with the chairman of the Group, and it's very multinational company, but he was saying 8% growth and very optimistic about the Chinese economy. Shifting focus to the property sector today, Redefine's full year earnings coming out, distribution up to 64 cents. What are your views on Redefine? Firstly, very broad views on them.
Yeah, I watched the interview this afternoon with Lindsay Williams and Mark Wayne. It was quite interesting. They were talking over each other, and maybe a bit of tension there. But I like Mark Wayne. We used to share offices with him, and I often sat in a lift with him. He's not one for small talk, but he's an old dog in the market, and has been very good at predicting the future, and has made some very good calls. Very interesting, the bid for Fountain, and looking to get more exposure to retail. Now putting in 1.1 billion rand into East Rand Mall.
With Vukile.
Yes, with Vukile, 50-50. So I think it's very interesting, and I like Redefine. I like the fact that they're getting into more retail, and the fact that Mark Wayner is very optimistic on retail, I think is a good sign for the retail sector as a whole.
Does that mean that Redefine is a buy right now? I saw the stock was down slightly on the day, but does that mean to go, you should go and buy this property stock?
If I were to get into property, we're more focused on equities. Most of our clients have their separate property portfolios, but out of the mix, I do prefer Redefine. We prefer to go with the bigger guys, so it's either Growth Point or Redefine. But it just seems Redefine are maybe a bit more ambitious, maybe looking for a bit more risk and a bit more growth above the market. The property sector has obviously done very well this year. Interest rates historically low, very good yields compared to what you're getting in the developed markets. So yes, I'd be getting into Redefine as a property exposure.
And Fountainhead, you talked about it. You talked about speculation around whether they are going to be able to outbid Growth Point. Do you think that this would be a good thing for Redefine, having Fountainhead properties within their portfolio?
I do, because majority of Fountainhead income comes from retail. It's a very complicated bidding war, because Redefine own the management side of Fountainhead, and Growth Point's offer is a lot better, but Redefine have that management which they think should be included in the price. So it's going to be very interesting to see how that pans out. But obviously, like Mark said, he wants 50% exposure to retail from their 35% at the moment. Obviously, you're going to add that East Rand Mall stake, but they're looking to get more, and Fountainhead assets are obviously what they're looking for.
Two pieces of news out of Anglo American Platinum, if it's focusing on the platinum sector. Stock down today. They said that hasn't been clarified, in fact, by the company. It's been reported by the Zimbabwean government. They've sold 51% of their mine, Unki mine, I think it is, in Zimbabwe to locals there to meet with those laws. And then, of course, they're also saying they're losing, 3,692 ounces per day, 94 ounces per day, I think it was. Overall, not a lot of negative news.
Yeah, Chris Griffith must be wondering what he got himself into. You read that SENS announcement, and you almost feel sorry for them. Trying to patiently negotiate with workers, setting dates, and no one's coming up to work. It's still very difficult. And this is the 7th week of strikes, and more platinum being lost. we're staying well clear of the sector, selling their assets in Zimbabwe. I saw a headline today, I think it was Tongaat, who were also facing nationalization issues there. So lots of negative issues facing those platinum companies.
Lastly, are you buying Apple's shares sitting at 3-month lows?
Yes, definitely. I think it's ridiculously cheap.